I feel everyone's answer. I feel that everyone's answer would darn near be the same. Yet, if I was to ask the participants on the phone, what is it that you admire or you love about former President Obama? Everyone's love language is different. So,
George, what do you mean? What do you mean? Everyone's love language is different.
what I mean by everyone's love language is different. I'm a loud person. I talk loud. I greet you loud. If I give you something, a gift, it's going to be full of enthusiasm. Some people, that's what I mean by different. That my love language is different than other people's love language. And other people's love language, they're different than mine. And where we get into a lot of trouble is, and this is more than opinionated, when I think my love language is better than yours, we can get into a lot of trouble. For example, when you do a comparative degree with my wife and I, my love language more than not is real close to unanimous, yet it's not unanimous. Will always favor the underdog, the person trying to get established. My wife's love language is for the established. No love language is really wrong. If she's loving something, I'm loving something. We're loving it differently. So, and what I mean by that as a factual example, my wife will, at the end of the year, she'll have a brunch or a lunch for the school teachers, guidance counselors, principals, administrative assistants. I have a lunch for the maintenance worker, crossing guard, school bus driver. If you look at that, one is a little bit more prominent than the other. Which one that is, it doesn't really matter. So when we talk about love, everyone's love language is different. Yet we darn near hate the same, or we dislike the same. So with love language, or how you maneuver out here is going to tell me a lot about your love language. You know, if we go out to eat and I pay for the meal, Miss Barbara, and you say, hey, George, you know what? You pay for the meal, I'm going to leave it to. That, to me, tells me a lot about your love language. So everyone has a different, if you ask everyone on their phone, what you love or what you admire about former President Obama, everyone is going to say something different. I would say, man, I like how he look in a suit. That dude can wear a suit. If I were to ask what we dislike or we hate about Trump, okay, he's a misogynist. He thinks the world about him. Everyone's answer is going to be the same. And you don't even have to use those people. You can, what do you love or admire about Reverend Richard? Everyone's love language would be different in what they had to say. So in this thing of love, we don't know enough about love. Some people say love is something you say. I say love is something you do. It's a verb. And when I relay this to my own house, my wife says, George, I love you. I'm like, well, prove it. I'm not going to tell you I love you. I'm going to show you I love you. Okay. Yet some people maneuver like that. If I'm dealing with someone who cannot hear or see, you can't tell no one that cannot hear or see you love them. Yet you can go get them a brand new pair of Air Force One, and they can feel that it's a new leather. They can smell it. So everyone's love language is different, Ms. Barbara. And I hope I was able to answer your question. I hope I didn't make anything too difficult.
No, thank you for the comment, George. One of the things I would say is that's the difference between how we see love. We don't see it in terms of the way other people see it. And it's beyond what I say, of course. It's what I do. It is who I am. It is what I be. And it's I would say that we're at the point where we want the love language to be the same regardless. Whether I'm talking about Trump or whether I'm talking about President Obama, it's beyond the physical way of how I see those two. Because first I have to see the holy spark that's in both of them. So the potential is there, even in a Trump kind of attitude for love. Now, whether that potential is revealed to me or not should not shape the way I, as a spiritual being, desire to relate to that spiritual part of our president. Same with President Obama. Of course, there's some things that that come across. I don't know if any of you saw the Pete Souza special last night on MSNBC called Shades, where it looked at he's a photographer who took pictures of both Reagan and Obama, and some of the things that he was able to capture in that millisecond of the shutter for both those presidents gave a glimpse of some of the essence of those two gentlemen, as opposed to our current president, who does not allow the photographer to be as much behind the scene other than through posed pictures. The thing about love is it doesn't matter how it appears to you, and if somebody's gregarious, if they come across, just gushing with love, what about that individual that has not that capacity to do that? As my responsibility as a spiritual being, I still got to love them the same. And that's what this verse is about. A new commandment, that you love one another as I have loved you. And so when we talk about the way that the created one loves us, it's beyond any constraints, any conditions. It's beyond, I have to go to church so I can get myself straight with the Lord. It's beyond that stuff. And so part of what we have to do is to learn and experience and do and be the love that we talk about. And that comes across in different ways. Love knows how to meet another being where they are. It's regardless of what they have done and to whom they've done it. Now, of course, we don't like what people do to each other. We don't like when someone is brutal to someone else, or when someone puts women down or whatever. We don't like that. That's not obviously showing love. But for those of us who are coming from a place of harmony and balance, we have to disregard that. And we have to see through to the genuine, holy spark that's in that person. Every individual has that. And so though we don't like what we see with our eyes, we have to love what we see with our eyes. I don't know if that resonates or not. Any comments?
It does. Barbara, this is Evelyn.
Yeah.
I always wondered how God felt or how God loves us. And I'm not going to say why, but how it loves us. And I thought about how I dealt with my children they did some things that I did not accept, but I still love them anyway. When it comes to your child, you look beyond what they did. I'm not saying you condone what they do or whatever, but you still love that child unconditionally. And that's how we are to be with each other. You love each other unconditionally, and you look beyond what each and every one of us do that don't line up with what things that don't line up or that is acceptable. But I always wonder how God loves me, even though I've done some things or said some things to my brother or my sister or whoever. It goes beyond what you do. It's something that can't be explained. But my question again is, I have another question with that. Why did it have to be a new commandment when that is who God is, love?
All right. Wait, let me see if anyone wants to respond to that before I do so.
Well, Barbara, this is Ron.
It's Ron.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
I wanted to address the original question before you get to Evelyn's question, because I think I see something when you ask that question. I'm looking at the way Jesus treated the 12 disciples. And if you didn't know better in reading some of these things, you wouldn't think it was a 12. You would think it was only maybe 3 or 4, because that's all you see him interacting with. So you look at that and think, does that mean that the rest of it just wasn't recorded? Did he not interact with them? But it's the thing that I think I see, and I haven't had time to look up the names or anything. Maybe the 12 represent a type of completeness and perfection that is in the spiritual man. And the 3 that he addresses, not him necessarily representing the person of Peter or John, but that spiritual part of mankind that would be needed in times like this. So if I look at how he treated them, they were treated with what was needed. He provided what was needed, whether or not it was nourishment, whether or not it was encouragement, whether or not it was enlightenment. So that to me is a greater love than a more complete love than just the physical type. If you see what I mean? So I look at them, the 12 of them, as a spiritual concept of any man or mankind who's trying to grow and see his soul rather than his mind. And I'm trying not to say higher self. And I see him addressing those 3 because even today, that's what is needed in us, to be complete and to be whole. So the love that you ask about, I guess, is him giving what was needed. And a lot of times we equate love with feelings and emotions, but as you mentioned that uncle, you don't always feel close to him, but you giving what is needed is a much stronger type of love than just experiencing him from an emotional perspective.
Thank you, Ron. And that what's needed might be that what we call the tough love sometimes, too.
Yeah.
Sometimes love means not enabling continued destruction of self. Love does not necessarily mean I'm giving you everything you say you want. Love means I am providing to you what you need as you need it. And it doesn't mean that I give you $50. 50 won't do it these days. $250 to buy the tennis shoes that you need. It might be because that could be enabling you to, or a child or a kid to continue to want the label. Love may mean, okay, if you want these, then there's a price that has to be paid for it. And that price has to be you're working for it so that you understand what it is you're asking for and what it takes to get it, on the one hand. The other thing is that with another child, I mean, and my children are like this, they couldn't care less about labels. And one would say, okay, you could buy you one pair of shoes with that. Well, I'm going to go and buy me 4 pair, and I can get any color I want, that kind of thing. So that's what we have to enable an individual or to experience the love that's already there within, or perhaps is buried, perhaps is covered. Yeah. Perhaps they don't even know how to share it. So thank you. I understand what you're saying. And love is concepts too. It's when you're talking about the disciples, and it's dealing with what's presented, and what's presented and experienced is provided as an example for us today.
Yes.
So I do agree with that. Thank you so much. Evelyn, you asked why this is called a new commandment. Anybody else before I refer you?
But before you start, Ken, so I was just going to ask right quick before you start, I got on late. What verse were we coming from again?
Oh, okay. I started with John 13:34.
Okay. Thank you.
Because we were building on what we discussed last week about Christ and Antichrist, and how do you know what anti is unless you know what the Christ part is? And then Evelyn asked the question, well, why does it say a new commandment I give you? Look at Matthew 22:37. Where they were talking about the great commandment. Love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, mind, and your neighbor as yourself. Everybody there?
Yes.
Okay. So this is the first time, I believe, unless someone knows differently, where Yahshua is specifically talking about, okay, this is how you begin to do this. This is how you begin this journey of understanding and knowing self and who you are, in a sense, the real part of the journey. But later on in John, when he talked about, again, John 13:34, a new commandment, love one another as I loved you, that you also love one another. It's as if he's saying, okay, before you can love somebody else, you have to love and understand your Creator. And by doing that, you have to understand that you also are Creator. So you got to learn to love yourself. You love your Creator, you love yourself. You love yourself, you love your Creator. And it built on that and says, then you can love your neighbor. In other words, it was like a stair step. You have to take one step in order to go up the next one, or in order to go up the next one. The basic thing is you have to know who you are. Mm-hmm. And you know who you are, the more you know about your Creator, the more you know who you are. Because you and your Creator are one. You are one. And then as you understand that principle of oneness and unicity, then you understand when I say love your neighbor as you love yourself. Because then you know that you and your neighbor are one with the Creator. Does that resonate?
Yes.
You gotta take that step first. You gotta understand that first. There is no greater way to get to the point of understanding what it means to love someone else apart from loving you. So then John, then over here in John it says love one another. I'm sorry. Then over here in Matthew 22. I'm sorry. Back to John 13:34. Love one another as I have loved you. It's saying the same thing. It's a reminder. It's saying, okay, now you've got the first step. Once you get that first step, I don't have to keep repeating myself. The condition is already there. The beingness of love is there. You understand that we are one. You know that I love you and you love me. You know that you abide in me and I abide in you. You understand that. And so then he says a new commandment. Love one another as I have loved you. And if you go to 35, it says, by this shall all men know that you are my disciples, if you have love one to another. So love is the crux. Love is the key. Love is the harmony and the balance. When we talked about tree of life, it's that center part, loving kindness. It's all about that kind of love. It's a qualitative kind of thing. It's not a quantitative kind of thing. You can't say if you go out of your way to come speak to me 5 times, that shows me you love me. It's not a quantitative kind of thing. I may only speak to you once in a lifetime, but if in that lifetime I'm able to transmit or impart to you the genuineness of who I see you as a person, that may be all you need. How many of us can think about one person who imparted one thing in our lives that they thought was a little thing? It doesn't have to be a big thing. But we remember that one thing which was a seed to us that helped to set our paths in life. So love is not about quantity, it's a qualitative knowingness of the I amness of who I am. And that I amness is the Creator in me and I in the Creator.
Barbara?
Stop here. Yes.
I don't think that new should be there. It just doesn't flow with, and this is just me now, Evelyn.
That's fine. You may very well be right.
I just don't think it needs to be there because if God is love, I'm not going to say if because it is love,
Mm-hmm.
then why does it have to be new? Love is love. It's been here since the beginning.
I hear you. And you may very well be right. The people to whom this is talking are still the disciples. So when you said back in Matthew, this is the first commandment, because he's still talking to the folk with whom he traveled and lived day to day, because they called him Master, which is the great. So you're right. You're right. It's just an iteration of, I can't make this strong enough, guys. You need to know that you need to love one another as I've loved you. I can't reiterate that enough in the sense of things. Someone was going to say something.
Yeah, it's Ron again. And I hadn't thought about that. She may very well be right. It's not supposed to be there. But the word doesn't just mean something entirely new. It also talks about a refreshing, something that is freshly given. And how I look at it is, if you go back and look at the Old Testament, the commandments, especially the 613, they were more of obligations and things that you had to remember to do. And what I think he's saying here is, this is not something that you can, you have to follow word for word and law by law, as it is written. You can do this by loving one another, because I think you mentioned in the very next verse, he's saying that if you do this, this is going to be enlightenment for everyone else, because it is something that the law has not asked you to do. Although, you have been trying to keep the law, this is something that has not been tried. And it's almost like when we started this movement that we're on now, it's like, I think somebody said, we've done marches, we've done this, we've done change by laws and legislation, but we've not tried love and forgiveness. It's always been there. It has always been a commandment, but it has not been used in the manner that we're trying to use it in the earth, or at least at this degree that I can remember in my lifetime. So I think she's right. It has always been there, but it is not a part of what they were asked to do as to how you follow God in the Old Testament. And he's just wrapping it all up into one thing. You will be enlightenment if people see this in you. If you love one another, this will be noticeable, and people will know that you are my disciples. You are the one who is trying to follow and be truth. So I think that's the difference there.
Yeah, to piggyback off of what Ron is saying, this isn't a command to perform any physical thing whatsoever. This is more so talking to the individual's heart and the manner in which not only you do things, but just your heart in general as you go about just everyday life experience in general. And for this to be a concept where all of a sudden where you're not telling someone, do this physical thing, but no, even if you are sitting in a monastery doing nothing, you never talk to anyone, you have a heart towards your neighbor or nature, rather, etc. The way that people will notice that, like Ms. Barbara was saying, and we've done, all of us have participated in this and been on both ends of it, where something very, very small from the deliverer may have been said or done that we even deemed as being insignificant, because at that particular time, you're walking in love. It's just something that you're doing effortlessly without thought whatsoever. The recipient of that particular word or action sees the world in that. It is mighty and magnificent to them. Not only, and they can feel it very, very deeply down within them. All of us have experienced that, and there's no doubt that the relationship that Jesus had with his disciples, they experienced that over and over and over again. The idea that we've had when we've dealt with anyone and that person really believed in us, or they saw us beyond our quote, air quotes, quote, unquote, failures, or quote unquote the things that were supposedly negative about us, or even that we thought of ourselves. They looked beyond that and did not see that as who we are in terms of a measuring stick like that. And I think when Evelyn mentioned her kids, that is the type of love that is demonstrated a lot. Now, in terms, I guess it's also important when we talk about love to understand that, once again, we're not talking about any particular action. Love is expressed in an infinite amount of ways. It manifests itself many different ways, and people express their loves in different ways. So I guess what we cannot do is we cannot actually judge someone by what they necessarily did or didn't do. We can try to almost guess that the person may have done that in a lack of love, but we can never say, and you could be right, but we can never be for certain, just because all of us are human beings and we react to things in different ways.
Thank you,
Sorry, I'm
Michelle.
done.
Other comments?
One more question, and I'm done with the new. This is Evelyn again. Is
Yeah.
the word new in the Aramaic language?
I'm not sure about that. Can somebody look that up while we're talking?
Barbara,
Yes.
this is Kathy. I was thinking when, excuse me, I'm hoarse this morning. I was thinking.
I'm
when
sorry.
Evelyn-
Say again, I hear something in the background.
I'm in the room by myself. I don't know what that is. Okay.
I know it may not be you, Kathy.
Okay. I was thinking when Evelyn asked that question, the scripture says, God says, I do a new thing, will you not recognize it? So the newness that came to mind for me when she asked that is the level of awareness, and I use that word level loosely, an awakening on the inside of me, that it's just like every other kingdom principle, in my opinion, that we're learning now. These are not new principles, but we had to learn what it means to be Elohim. We had to learn all of these different things. So I'm wondering if it's talking or speaking to a spiritual awakening in you. It's here, it's available for you. But if you're not aware of it, then you don't know you have the potential to possess and the ability to love this way. So it's not a new thing. It's only going to be new to you because now you have a spiritual awareness of it. Could it be along those lines, possibly?
I think that's reasonable as well, because again, you're right. There are so many things that we still are not aware of. It's in us, but it's still covered, and until we are aware, I think that's a good example as well.
Yeah, as I'm looking up,
newness.
sorry.
Aramaic newness.
Yeah, well, looking at the word now, at least from the Greek that it was translated from, it does deal with freshness, and uncommon. And in those terms, it would be the case that even though these things were always there, and of course, absolutely, love is God, all those things that you said, Evelyn, but even that hasn't always been in our own personal lives our full experience to the extent that we actually experience it right now. So I believe, like with Kathy was also saying, and Ron, that it was more so new in terms of transforming their understanding of love. But without a doubt, it was always love. Jesus proclaimed himself to be love and to be that of the Father. So, in terms of it itself being new, no. But in terms of their understanding of it, and even some of us on the phone, or as we continue to walk, is like Barbara said, a continuous refreshness for us as well, or a newness for us when we are becoming more acclimated with that same love that Jesus spoke to, but within ourselves and within our lives.
Thank you, Shell. You know, Go ahead,
I'm
Kathy.
sorry. I was just going to give an example. Like, for example, this is Kathy. When a new mother has the baby for the first time and it's her first child, how many times have we had parents or heard people say, I did not know I had the ability to love like this until I had this child.
Mm-hmm.
That opened my heart up in such a way that I didn't realize I loved my husband or I married my husband because of love, but now I'm experiencing even more love in a different way. And that's what made me think it's just an awareness of the ability to love more so than just being brand new.
Thank you, Kathy. What I thought about as go ahead, who's that?
I'm sorry, Bob. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
I was just going to say in the Hebrew, it kind of just reflects what everybody said. It talks about to renew or to rebuild or to repair something or to be renewed.
Gotcha.
So,
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Like the freshness kind of concept.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ron. As you all were talking, George, let me just say this and I'll come right back to you. As you all were talking, thank you. What I thought about was what we are about right now. You know, somebody looking from the outside of whatever the outside is and looking at this terrestrial ball of whatever this earth is called, they're saying, boy, those folk they're going to tear their planet up. You know, they're seeing the chaos. But what we are seeing is the newness, the refreshing part of the mightiness and the power of the Creator and the Creator in us through love. That what we're going through is because of love of mankind. I don't know that any other era of people have seen it this way, that can feel it this way, that can know that the love extends not beyond just our family, but the family of mankind. George, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Thank you. And listening to what everyone is saying, I feel everyone is correct. So when I hear the word new, in the course of a 24-hour period, when I sit back and examine my day, the first thing I ask is, what did I do good for someone today? Or what did I do good that was just good? And when the next day hits, I try and build on what I did good, or at least stay comparable with it. Anything that I did that was not so good, I want separation from. So in this word of new, looking at it through my lens is, you got to reinvent yourself out here every day. The majority of the people I know, they take their clothes to the cleaner. They're not washing their clothes in Broad River anymore. Times have changed. And when times change, the foundation could still be the same, yet you make slight adjustments. So when we're talking about love, I've heard people say, and in my mom and daddy's bathroom, love is not blind. And I look at it and I'm like, maybe love should be blind. And when I look at it through my experience, when I look at Ronnie Millsap, Clarence Carter, Ray Charles, Stevie Wonder, blind men or blind boys of Alabama. These are entertainers or human beings. Some were born in the blindness, some were born blind, and some matured in the blindness. Yet all of them, they own their own publishing. Yet you have people out here who are sighted, like TLC. They don't own their own publishing. So maybe love should be blind. Then when I look at love, was somebody about to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say something, but let me just let you go ahead and finish up your thought.
So when I do look at love, and I apply it to gender. The one thing all men want is acknowledgement. The one thing all women want are security. It's security. And I'm not saying that a man does not need security. All a man needs is social security. A man does not need security like a woman. I'm not saying women don't need acknowledgement. I'm just saying women don't need acknowledgement as much as men need acknowledgement. So when we bring love in and we apply it to gender, it's going to be different. When you come up in a two-parent household, whatever I did right or wrong, my mama still does. My father had to bring in some law, so he got kind of rough with it. So gender, as it relates to love, is just my opinion, which is more than opinionated. When you look at love and you apply it to gender, we as men, we seek acknowledgement. You got to ask yourself, why would a man or a young man get a $4,000 car and put a $12,000 paint job on it and $10,000 rent? He wants some degree of acknowledgement. So that's how I look at love. Maybe love should be blind. Maybe when we see things, we process it, whoop, 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 and it's not really what we need to see. So that's it.
Thank you, George. I appreciate that. I want to build on what you just said, though. The love we're talking about is not applied to gender. What you're talking about is how love is applied in the physical, in a sense. But what we're talking about goes beyond that, and it's not applied to gender. It's genderless. It's applied to man and womankind equally in the same way. And it's beyond what we see with the eyes, because it is how we relate with the eye, the spiritual eye. So it's beyond the physical. And I follow what you said about, basically spiritually what man provided was provision, and what woman provided was nourishment of that, nourishment to the seed, et cetera, et cetera. But again, the love that I'm talking about is beyond any gender. There is no gender as it relates to that.
Ms. Barbara, this is Vernell. And going back and reading the verses prior to that, it was talking about...
Which one?
John 34, reading the verses prior to that, it's talking about where Jesus was had made the indication that somebody was going to betray him. And what it makes me think of in terms of new commandment is pretty much what everyone has been saying, is that, we're to love each other, but we tend to think that when someone has betrayed us, that we no longer love them. We start to question that. And it kind of makes me think of what you're saying, that irregardless of your behavior, you have to look past that and maintain that love. So that's kind of what it made me think of, that it's not the physical love that we're so comfortable with, or understanding that we love our Creator, but that person is also that Creator, and we have to love past their behavior.
Well, one thing that you said, you can go. Sorry, Ms. Walker, you can go ahead.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, a key. Well, we are. What we're doing right now is we're actually. It's really almost impossible to accurately, I guess, give love a description. It is something that we're talking about the attributes of it, and in some ways what is not, in order to get down to more so an understanding of love. But love is also something that we cannot capture just plainly from the intellect and from our mind. Is something that we have to we connect to through, as Miss Barbara said, our third eye and through our heart. And I say all that to say the idea of, yes, when Jesus is talking about being betrayed, love is completely separate from anyone doing something to or for you, whether that thing is viewed as something that is welcoming or something that is actually unwanted. If you can, if anyone, if I can say why I love someone or why, well, basically, if I can say why I love someone, that's not love. Love has no reason whatsoever. And the first time that love has a reason, then that is something that is conditional, which is not a love. And no matter what someone does to us, we automatically have the choice in terms of we may not have direct control of what someone may do to us, but we do control how that thing makes us feel or how we react to that thing even internally before you even get to how we react from a physical standpoint. What does that thing do to you? Or what does that particular thing, whatever the wrong that was done, what does it do to us internally? I'm sure in the relationship going back to Jesus and the disciples, there would they were not always necessarily pleasant interactions from the disciples' standpoint. They had very colorful backgrounds and past, but Jesus still loved them in spite of that. It's the same thing like when our parents, when you do something wrong or whatever, and we also have felt shame in our lives for doing certain things, and then you're like, oh man, you still accept me? You still love me? You're not going to shun me? Which is also spoken about in the Bible all the time in terms of us holding ourselves guilty for certain things. Sorry, I got off a little bit off track, but just trying to explain more so the attributes of love being separate, completely separate from people doing wrong by us in the workplace, in our family, and personal relationships, and things of that nature.
Thank you. I appreciate that. And Vermel, looking back on what you just reminded me of, if you look at John 13:33, Jesus speaks to them as little children. But then if you look at verse 34, he talks about a new commandment. And 35 says, by this shall all men know that you are my disciples if you have loved. And so it's like, I think a little as Kathy was saying, when at first they were peeling back layers of awareness as they walked with and learned from the Messiah. But then they're not in. It's like, okay, you're not children anymore. I have to strip away this physical part of what you think you see. And that's part of why Jesus had to go away, so that we would never always just think about the physical anymore. It's almost as if this is an example of that physical going away, passing to another dimension, if you will, and the reminder that, okay, I'm not here with you anymore, but it's physically, but I am with you even more in love and spiritually. I'm not with you anymore physically, but I'm here with you even more spiritually. And all of this is building up to what George led us to when he first talked about balance and harmony in the family. Because if you then go down here to chapter 14, St. John chapter 14, verse 27, it's like it's like the foundation is being refreshed again about this is how you get to that place of peace and harmony. That you love without, how did Sheldon say it, without condition. You don't have to have a reason to do it. You do it because it is who you are. You don't do it because somebody did something good for you. You do it because it is what you are and who you are. Just like the Creator. God is love. You do it just because it is who you are. And when we can do it from that perspective, nothing anybody can do or say can shake the fact that we love them. There's nothing a Hitler can do that shakes the fact that we love them. Again, we may not like a lot of the stuff they do, but we learn to see beyond the physical. And we acknowledge the divinity that's within, that has not been uncovered potentially by the individual. That doesn't mean it's not there. And so while we love that individual and hate what they do or not like what they do, we're acknowledging the Creator within, not what the individual is doing. I don't know if that's resonating or not, but that's how I see it. Love will always point to the Creator. Will always point to the Creator who first loved us. Yes.
Yeah. This is George and Philly. You know, the question that you imposed on us in the beginning.
This is George from the City of Love, huh?
Yeah, from the City of Brotherly Love and Sisterly Affection. Yeah. But the question that you imposed on us was, how has the Creator loved us? And, you know, I want to say in terms of He loved us because He created a family. And so in this family, you know, our believers in what, you know, we have discussed thus far, you know, have me to appreciate when we talk about God's creation. And so in His creation, you know, God created seasons. And I wanted to try to tie it, you know, in a way, because Ron spoke about the 12 disciples. And I wanted to see it in terms of, you know, God's creation, where because we have seasons, we can look at things fresh, or we can look at it, you know, in the newness of cycles and seasons. So the number 12 and the whole aspect in terms of how we see things, I'm just trying to relate it to the fact that, you know, because of God's creation, I can see things in a new way through the seasons that God has created. So I was just trying to point out, you know, again, in terms of the summer, the winter, the fall. I mean, God creates beauty. He creates love. And in all of these ways, we have a chance to see it, you know, in terms of just us waking up and appreciating this new day that, you know, He has given us. So I'm just trying to, you know, deal with the question, how has the Creator loved us by what He has created? That was just my thought.
Can I add something?
Yes.
Something Sheldon said reminded me of something that I saw on television, and I look at First 48 a lot. I like that show, but I can't remember if it was on there or another show. But this young guy killed a woman's son. And if somebody remembers this, they can help me out if I misquote this or say something wrong. But she made the statement that he'll never kill anybody else. And it was taken as a threat. And you know, of course, the guy gets caught and he goes to jail. He goes to prison for it. And the mother goes to his parole hearing. And she speaks on his behalf, the guy that killed her son. And lo and behold, when he gets out of prison, she takes him in. And she shows him love. And what she meant by that is, I'm going to change his heart. He's never going to have that in his heart again to want to kill somebody. And to listen to him later express how he feels for her, or his love for her, for what she did to him and changing his life, is you can't replace that. There's no words for it. It was just, you know, it did something to me, because I'm thinking, my God, is that in me? Can I, you know, to that degree? Almost immediately, she felt that. And when it was the season to be angry, it was time to be hurt, and you know, even feel vengeful. All she saw was love. This young man took something precious from me, and I'm going to show him how precious it is, because he's going to know what it feels like to be loved. And I just thought that's priceless, and it just, to me, kind of fits what we're talking about, because we're in a age where a place in life where everything is divided. Everybody is finding reasons not to love. They're finding reasons to be separated more than to come together. And if you look at what Jesus is saying, men are going to see this in you, and they're going to see the togetherness that is in you. They're going to see that unity that is there, and that's going to be enlightenment for them. And it needs to be more of that in the world. And I just thought about that or something. I can't remember what Sheldon said, but it just kind of triggered that memory when I thought about it.
And that reminds me of the love covering a multitude of sin. When you get to that level, that when you have that degree of love, that the sin that was done, the wrong that was done, is wiped away, in a sense, is covered, in a sense. And so not only is that woman working from her, through her hurt, has already worked through her pain, but then she gives someone else that gift of understanding what love is, such that they can't hurt someone in that way again. Yeah. That's profound. Other comments?
Well, based on what Mr. George said out of Philly, and even what you asked, you know, how do we know God loves us? And I think one of the things that will have an impact on a person's relationship with God, or I should say, at least my relationship with God, is, you know, what's the distraction that I have in between myself and God? You know, is it my career? Is it my spouse? Is it my children? Is it material things? So, you know, these are the things I feel that can knock you out. I'm not going to say it can knock you out. It can have an impact on your relationship. God did say that he is a jealous God. So if you look at what we got going on out here, in order for you to get to God, you got to kiss the Pope ring. That's a distraction. So minimizing my distraction. I eat lollipop lamb chops whenever I want. And guess what? I want everybody on this here phone to eat lollipop lamb chops whenever you want. If you can eat them, you give me a call. I am preparing for it. I have fun in my career. And when I meet people who are disgruntled about their job, I'm not going to say it turns me off, but I try to show them, hey, have fun in your occupation. Because without your occupation, like, where you going to be? How many people you get behind the 8 ball? How many people coming in your corner, coming in your 8? And there will be some, and and the ones you think will not show up, and the ones you don't think they will show up. So just having that relationship with God, or as Reverend Richard Grady Faith say, that intercourse with God, it's personal. My relationship with God is far different than any one of you all. You know, I say some things to God that would make your skin crawl. Yet that's our relationship. But like I say, you know, when we look at love, it's fascinating to me because as much as you all stay in the spiritual, I'm going to be the one that keeps you in the physical. And when you all are in the physical, I stay in the spiritual. And like I say, love is a real fascinating thing to me. I know people, they make money. But guess what? They don't want me or you to make money. I know people, they in platonic, I can't even say the word, platonic relationships, and they're married. And guess what? As soon as the other spouse go out and get somebody to kiki with, it's a problem. But so that's what's so interesting to me about love. And I go back to what I said, and it's probably staying in the physical. Everyone has a different love language. And like I say, this world is the way it is, not so much behind hate, but it's behind love. Somebody thinks they love language better than I love language. I myself, I'm just as guilty of it. I think my love language better than some other people. And the minute I think that I'm better, that brings a lot of stuff in life that shouldn't be like, just by thinking that you are better. So,
and George, what you're giving us are the examples of what love and how love is defined and personified in the physical. So you're right. When we stay there, you're right. Everybody's definition is different. Everybody defines and love differently and shows love differently. But the truth of love of the Creator, I appreciate the examples in the physical, because we asked that question originally: how does the Creator show love to us? So thank you very much for showing us the contrast of how man shows love to man. How does the Creator show love to the created? Is almost totally opposite. So thank you for giving us that contrast. But on this journey that we're talking about, we're never going to get to that peace and that harmony, regardless of what's happening to us or around us, unless we understand the core of what love is as it relates to us, to the Creator, and to each other.
Well, I will say in conclusion, I always know when I'm doing something godly or expressing love by way of the Creator, because I meet resistance. And that's when I know that, so when we talk about peace and harmony, we're not talking about people are going to support you. So whenever I know I'm doing something that I know is godly, I know it's an expression of love. When I start meeting resistance, then I'm like, okie doke, then I know I'm real close to God. Because if you don't meet no resistance out here or adversary, I mean, how can you be better? You have to have that resistance out here. One of the things I tell my family or my children, I would recommend that you seek God. I don't tell my children you need to trust them, because the minute you trust something and you get disappointment, you're mad at somebody or mad at yourself. Yet the minute you seek Him, you understand the disappointment. You understand. So, like I say, it's just a fascinating subject, just about love. And I often ask myself, God, do you love us for what we got to go through out here? How can you love? And I always resort back to, if you don't understand how God maneuvers in time, it's going to be real difficult to understand how he can love you. Yet he loves us. We have come a long way as African Americans. And so have other cultures. Not just African Americans, but it is difficult to ask, God, do you love me? Do you love us? And it just depends on how you wake up that morning. That's all.
I hope not, John. I hope not, George. I hope it depends on more than that. Thank you, though, George, for the comments. 1 John 4:7-8. Beloved, let us love one another, for love is of God, and everyone that loveth is born of God and knows God. He that loveth not knoweth not God, for God is love. All of this is surrounding that core. And as I started with at the beginning, where the upper world, I like you, Ron, I had to go there, where the upper world and the lower world meet, that center piece there is loving kindness and compassion. And that's where we can transcend the physical. Love is love is where it's not a space or a location, but it is and it's not a thing. It's hard to, as Sheldon says, you can't really define it. But it's at that point, at that essence, that we transcend physical and spiritual, and where we can enjoy and bring the spiritual into the physical realm, in a sense. That's what this plague is doing. That's what love is. People will not see it that way in general, but we see it that way. We know that. In essence, what will happen is, and what has happened is, this is ushered in loving kindness at a level of different awareness for people, for the masses, for the larger humankind family. I just encourage those of us who are on this path and this journey to continue doing it, because we may only suspect the impact that it's having on opening the awareness for many more people. And I suspect that impact, well, I don't suspect, I know that impact is going to be seen. And I don't mean seen with the eyes, but seen with the eye for generations and generations. So, my brothers and sisters, therein lies
This is
the love
Audrey.
of God, that we love one another. Yes, Miss Audrey.
I have sort of a question and comment. And I'm not sure where my head is with all this, but I know you said this is not about gender, and it's way beyond that, and it is. But I was also thinking about, in terms of cultural context, in terms of what Jesus was saying to the disciples. And we know that Mary Magdalene was one of those. And we know that she had a kind of tenuous relationship with the male disciples. But here's Jesus saying, a new commandment I give you, that you love one another. I think he meant it in terms of, because of their culture, men and women were so separated from each other. And and indeed, marriages were, so to speak, arranged. And there was a certain expectation of how you treat women. But so it was very unusual for Jesus to include them in his followers. So I think his intent by this was that, and it does go beyond gender, but also we know that it takes both the male and the female energy for things to happen. So I think he's saying to them that they should have that love for each other, which goes beyond culture, which goes beyond gender, which also, so that they can in fact do the greater things that they were meant to do. And I think that even applies to now. We need the new commandment to love one another. Because as we can see, we still have the same old problem culturally of men and women being so separated and against each other. And especially in religious settings where women are not considered to be on a certain level, so they can't hold a certain position or whatever. And still today, in certain religious settings, men don't have very much respect for women in terms of their relationship to God and their I don't know. I've got a lot of things going on in my head, but anyway, but even in our culture today, that particular aspect of religion that says that women don't quite meet a certain level of whatever, it causes men to disrespect women. And we can see that just every day in the way men talk about women, the way they're treated in religious circles, the way they are treated in politics, the way they're treated in all of our culture. So I think he was saying in that new commandment was not that it was new, but he wanted to emphasize it, that you need to get beyond, yes, you need to get beyond gender. And we can see that easily now, but they couldn't see it so easily then. And in a certain level of our society, people still don't see it. They still don't get past it. So, I mean, I guess what I'm saying is that he meant it on a spiritual level, and he meant it on a cultural level, I think.
I think he meant it on every level.
Yes.
And so, and you're right. They did not see it then. But as I said now, the foundations of old.
Audrey, I don't know what happened, but I'm going to reconnect them. Janice had us connected before. Give
Oh,
me a
we
moment.
lost them?
Yeah, we lost them. They're gone. Hold on.
Okay.
We need to stay on that path because heretofore it took centuries for manifestations to occur to let us know that we're on the right path. Well, now it's taking minutes, days. It takes no time at all, and so that's why Pastor says we got to watch what we say. Got to guard our heart, what gets in there, and watch what we say, because what we say can even occur almost before we say it. Like the thought of somebody calling you and then you get the phone call. That's almost before you even say it. Somebody's gonna call me. So we've got to guard our heart, which means guard our thoughts and watch what we say. And all of that has to be lined up with the love that we have for each other and our Creator. Any other comments? And that's about all I was. That was just 2 verses, maybe 3 verses. Any other comments before? That's all I have today. Does anybody have anything else?
We kind of lost
No,
you
but
for a
thank
little
you.
bit. So we didn't hear
Oh,
that last
sorry.
bit.
I just said press on. Stay on the path and watch what we say.
Yeah, unfortunately, we missed everything as soon as you went to comment after Audrey stopped talking, and so I had to reconnect.
Oh,
so yeah.
Oh man. Okay, well let me sum it up because obviously the only thing I was saying, well, it's not the only thing. The thing I was saying is stay on the path and look beyond the distractions because what we've seen is it hasn't taken centuries for things to manifest as they once did. they are manifesting before our physical eyes, even as we have seen them with our spiritual eye before they manifest. And so we have to guard our hearts and our thoughts and watch what we say. And I liken that to the phone call that we get because we were thinking about somebody and they call. Those are the kinds of things, and there's power in that. Those are the kinds of things that we're experiencing more and more and more. So watch what we say with our mouths. We cannot send out to the universe something negative when we've said something positive, because that contributes to the chaos. So I'm saying when we get distracted, get back on track, get back in focus, get back to that place of balance ASAP. Any other comments today? Did I lose you guys again?
No, you're good, Barbara. I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, no, we can hear you.
Thank you for facilitating.
Sure. Thank you, guys. As I told him, you got a bunch of teachers here. You trained us, so everybody teaches. So thank you all very much for your comments. Appreciate it. And just watch what the Creator does next with the eye, and then you'll see it manifested in the physical. All right. Have a great week. Thank you.
You as well.
Bye, family.
All right.
Everyone have a good
Bye.
week.
Thanks, Sheldon.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
No problem. Anytime.